Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and I might be on here normal time. I don't have a lot of time, but I have enough time. Maybe about yeah, I have enough time. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about I can't think about that. I know it's such a weird title, but today I was spending some time with God. I went to go visit a family member, and I spent some time just like kind of reflecting on my life, thinking about the things that have been concerning me, the things that have been on my mind, the things that I'm going through in my life right now. And as I was sitting there spending time with God, God just said, just be, just don't stop thinking about stuff just for 1 second and let me be me. Let me do what it is that I have to do. Stop, doing the most. Stop, doing things when you don't need to do things. Stop like over analyzing everything. Just really take a moment and just be. Be who I created you to be. Be all of the things that you aspire to be as the best version of yourself. I need you to be those things. I can't have you be somebody else. I can't have you pretend as if something does or doesn't bother you. And it's not that he said, just act like, act like some sort of like machine or something, some kind of robot. He's saying, this is my interpretation. Okay. So I feel like he's just saying that when I'm doing different things, sometimes I'll have a moment where I know I want to be the best version of myself. And I'll kind of start to feel like, okay, well, if God's not moving in this way right now, I know that sounds so weird. And you're probably like, how could you even think that? But when God is moving in my life and he's telling me to be still or pause or wait or whatever else, I just kind of feel like I'm doing something wrong, and I know that's not the case. I know there's always something that we can always work on, but that's how I like kind of internalize it when I'm in a waiting season. When God's telling me to wait for something, when God tells me I can't have something right at that moment, I'm like, okay, God, I'm praying. I'm waking up every day at the time. I'm, doing all the right things. I'm going to church. I'm going to Bible study. I'm reading the Bible. I'm spending time, like I'm actually building a personal relationship with God. I'm spending time with God. I'm trying to be the best version of myself when it comes to my friends and my family members and my daughter. Like I'm doing all of these things. And God's like, just pause, just wait. And I'm like, I mean, it seems like nothing's happening. Like I don't know. And then when God did tell me to move, I didn't do anything. And I kind of missed my window on something that I really wanted in my life. And I know God spins the block, but I'm like, okay, God, I don't know how many times you're going to have to spin the block for me. But if this is what you desire for me, then please allow it to happen. But I also want to be in a position where I don't feel like I need anything but God. I don't want a person, a place, or a thing to come in between what I have with God. I don't want a person to influence me to make me into somebody that I'm not. I don't want any person to come in and try to make me be the version of myself that I was before I rededicated my life to God. And it's not easy right now to keep walking the straight and narrow. I'm just going to be real and transparent. Like, I really had a little bit of struggle the past couple days or so. And I've really been trying to focus in on God. I've really been trying to do the right thing. And it's just like, I could just feel like the things that I used to desire, the things that I used to do, just like pulling at me, like, you could always turn back. And I'm kind of like, I can't go back. I said I would never go back to being that type of person. I said I would never go back to doing those types of things. I never wanted to go back to the person that I used to be. Like I've come so far. Like for me to go back now, it wouldn't make any sense to go back. It would really be a hindrance on my growth if I decided to turn back and be, immature or decided to go back and do all of these things just because I feel like I want to do them. And I know I'm sitting here talking like this and you're feeling like, okay, really, it's that easy of a decision. It's not easy at all. Like it's really pulling on my spirit hard. Like I'm trying so hard to just do the right thing. And you ever wanted something so badly, it's just like, listen, if I don't get it, I don't know. And you don't get that thing, and it's like, okay, well, I know I need to focus on God. God's saying, you're not going to get everything that you want, but you're going to get everything that you need. And it's not going to be when you want it. It's when it's God's time for you to have it. And I'm one of those people who I would like to pretend like I'm like, oh yeah, God, and always like this. Like most of the time I am like this. Most of the time I'm like, God, whenever you want these things to happen, I'm okay with that. And a little bit of impatient part of me is like, like 3 days, but I'm like, 3 days is really not that long. 3 years, like God doesn't really give me a time limit, but I'm just like, okay, it's been like 2 days. It's been like 3 days. It's been like a week. It's been like a year. And then God's like, listen, a year to you is like, I'm like, okay, God, you had to go back to that scripture though, for real. Like, when we are, for me, I always try to practice patience. I always try to practice just being more patient in my life, because honestly, before I rededicated my life to God, I would always rush through everything. And I had a moment like about a year ago where I felt like I wanted to rush. And God's like, no, I need you to wait. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in a good position. And God's like, listen, you're not ready yet. And I'm like, what do you mean? I feel healed. I feel good. I feel like I'm in, a right headspace. I feel more mature. I feel good about myself. I feel good about all of these things. The decisions that I'm making are like all geared towards you. I'm in my purpose. I'm doing the things that you placed upon me to do. Like, I don't understand what this waiting thing is about. And I didn't wait. And I realized that I was not ready, that God was completely right. And I was still, I don't want to say a little immature, but I still had some broken pieces of me that God hadn't healed yet. And I thought that I was okay because I was by myself. And so it's different when you meet someone, or it's different when you like are like, if you are in a horrible friendship and you meet another person who happens to be your friend, sometimes it's really hard to be trusting of that person, or allow any other person in after that person has damaged you. And while you're by yourself, you're like, going on me dates, you're doing stuff by yourself, you're doing stuff with your family. It's like, okay, it's good. I'm good. And the moment you meet someone who could potentially be a friend, it triggers something inside of you because that part of you isn't healed yet. And you wouldn't know that until you get in that position. And so it's really important for you to listen to what it is that God's telling you to do, because even though you might not understand, even though you might want it right then and there at that very moment, sometimes you have to wait, and it sucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yes, it's so amazing waiting and being in this pausing season. And, I'm trying to be like a gracious server in this season. I'm trying to be intentional. I'm trying to do more things for other people because it fills my soul, and it makes me like forget that I'm waiting, for a season. And so I try to I'm trying real hard. Like, you don't understand how difficult it is for me to be patient. Like, I really struggle with this hard. And I've been doing a lot better at being patient. But I am not like, I'm not there. I'm not like, oh yeah, patience is me. Like, I am patience. Like, for the most part now, I am a patient person. There's some things I am not patient about, and I'm trying to be better at it. It's just so, I don't want to say it's so hard. It's like saying goodbye to the old you is like, it's weird sometimes because you're like, oh yeah, I don't care about that. And then something else happens and you're like, or you're like, or, it kind of makes you like be in your feelings. Okay. Anyways, for people who know they got that, but listen, it's just one of those things. And it's not easy all the time being patient. It's not. Like, I remember when I was first like doing my healing journey, and God was like, okay, I need you to be patient. I need you to wait. And I was like, I'm not waiting. Like, immediately I was like, okay, I'm going to wait. But I was like, I don't understand why I'm waiting. Like, it didn't make any sense to me. And I know God doesn't need to explain anything to me. So that's a whole nother issue. And so I was sitting there and I was just like, I don't understand why God is telling me to wait. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to do what I want. Then it made me like, because I wasn't ready, just push people away, friends, whatever else. Just like, oh, I don't know if I want to be in another friendship. I don't know if I want to be in another thing or whatever else. And so I just kind of, instead of like, if I would have listened to God, I would have been waiting anyways. So I just prolonged the whole journey for no reason. But that's how we do. It's kind of like when Moses led the people out of Israel, out of when Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. I don't know what is happening. Sometimes I just get like this little, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I got so much stuff on my mind. And I was going to take a nap, but I was like, let me go ahead and do this video because when I get back, I'm going to be a little tired. And I don't know. I don't know how the day is going to play out. So I got to make sure I get in as many things as I possibly can. And so just like those people though, just like the Israelites that are led out of Egypt, it's just like they prolonged their journey instead of it being, what was it, 11 days or something, it ended up being 40 years. That's how our life is when we decide to take things in our own hands, when we decide to not be patient, when we decide to rush into something that we really shouldn't have rushed into, when we decide to take, like, fill our time with things that are like not, have no depth, things that really are not helping develop our spirit or our mind or grow our business. And we just get so distracted. Like, honestly, it is really easy. I mean, really tempting. I don't want to say easy. It's really tempting when you're doing the right thing to do the wrong thing because it's like, okay, I'm always constantly working the straight and narrow. I'm always constantly being patient. And for me, it's weird because I asked God, this is another thing. I sat there and I prayed and I was like, God, please give me the discernment of a person and a spirit because I want to make sure that I'm not wasting my time with any person. When you ask God for something, He will definitely show you what it is that you want to know. Like, my discernment is so good, bad. It's so good. I say it like that because sometimes we pray about stuff and we really don't know what we're praying for. And so we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to have discernment. It's going to be like this. We have this picture in our mind. Like, oh, it's going to look like this, of what it's going to look like when you discern different things and when you get the answer that God's giving you. And God's not giving you the answer you want. He's giving you the answer you need. And He's not giving you the things that you want. He's giving you the things that you need. And the closer you get in a relationship with God, the more you're going to want the things that He wants for you. And so my discernment is so like this now. Like, I mean, God gave me this gift. Like, I'm telling you, I literally can meet a person in a day, be like, like I know right away in 3 days. Some people, if they're real lucky, last a week. But my discernment is so, like, I know everything that I need to know, and sometimes it just makes me feel like maybe I should have just been blind, and not have discernment. So I could just give people a longer amount of time. But then I'm like, why would I just waste my time on people that I really don't want to be with, And so it's just, it's one of those gifts and curses. Like, it's a really good thing to have because I'm glad I haven't wasted any time on any person. But it's like, I don't know. I don't really want to get that deep and I don't want to make it into a thing. So it's just crazy, man. It's so crazy. I literally will be, I mean, I'm telling you, when you pray for something from God, be prepared for whatever it is. Like, you think you know, but you really don't know, And so when I prayed for discernment, I had no idea that it was going to be like that. I thought it was going to be like, oh, okay, here's a few red flags. This is what, most people would be like, decent people who, whatever else. And so this discernment thing will help you along the way, and it'll help you make the best decisions for yourself. And it does help me make the best decisions for myself. It's just like, dang, like, I mean, it's so quick. It's like, goodness gracious. Like, I don't know. It's so, and I'll try to be like not as hard on people. So I try not to be like, oh no, we're just not a good fit. But it's like I gotta definitely be honest with myself when I'm doing different things in my life, because I don't want to just have someone there just to have someone there. Like, I know what my worth is. I know that I'm enough. I know that the things that God has for me are for me, and I want to be with the type of person who deserves me, that I deserve, who God graced us for each other. And it's going to be a lot of me just being me, just doing the things that I need to do for myself, because the way that it's looking out, I don't know why I had to say it like that. I'm not trying to get on any of those men. I feel like they're going to be great for somebody else, for real. And I don't mean that just because I'm trying to be nice or just to say something nice. I mean it for real. Like, it might not be the thing that I was like equally yoked with. It might not be the things that I would have needed in my life, but someone else will be looking for that exact thing. And so I just, I wouldn't say it sucks. It's life, it is life. It's just like, whew, okay, God, like I prayed for that, but I didn't know that this is what I was getting when I prayed for it. Like, in my head, I had a like idea of what it would look like, but I had no idea that this is what it was gonna look like. And so it's kind of like, And so like I'll have like certain friends and stuff like that, and please don't be judging me like too hard, but I'll have certain friends and stuff, and they'll be like, you don't give nobody a chance. And I'm like, I give certain people chances sometimes. And it's just, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out because we are unequally yoked, you know, for whatever reason, or we're just, not grace for each other. And they, when they say this, they mean it in such a nice way, and God bless their soul. They say things like, "You're just so beautiful. I hate the fact that you're alone." And I'm like, being alone is not a curse. Why they say it like it's a disease or something? Like, like, like the 19, like they really be trying to get on me, like, oh my gosh, you're single, and I'm like, listen, we not gonna do that. They really be going in. I'm like, okay, that's how we doing today. All right, this is how we feeling. So you just gonna come at me like that? They really be saying it, and I'll be like, okay, all right. I mean, I get your heart is in the right place. All right. You know? But yeah, they'll do stuff like that, and I'm just like, listen, it's not a bad thing to be alone. It's not a bad thing to be all in one. And for all of like the single people out there, I hope you don't feel like because someone says, "Oh, you're beautiful, you should be with someone," means that you should be with someone. You should be with whoever God has grace for you, unless God has told you that you need to be single for the rest of your life. Like, if God hasn't placed that on you and he just wants you to do something else in your purpose where you're just single, then just do that. Being single is not some sort of like disease or something. It's literally like a choice. And I am definitely single by choice. I'm not single because I have trouble meeting people. Like, let's go ahead and debunk all the myths. I'm not single because I have trouble meeting people. I'm not single because, I just have some sort of like, I don't know, like, how they say like there's that thing that you do. What is it? I mean, I have a lot of flaws, but whatever that thing is, it's like that I can't think of what it is, but you have like that weird thing that you do that people are like, it's not because of that. It's not because it's not because of the things, the stereotypical things that people think of reasons why people are single. I'm single because it's a choice, because I choose not to settle for anything less than God has for me. Because anything that I want to do in a relationship, I do by myself already, anyways. So the person who comes into my life will have to be somebody who's like an added bonus. Like they're there because we're both grace for each other, because that's what God intended, because it will benefit the kingdom. Um, you know, my single the reason why I'm single is just because I just choose to know my worth. I choose to not just be with any other person. I choose to not just be with anybody. Like that's not the type of life I want to live. I don't want to be confused because of Jack, Joe, and Bill. Like I need to stay focused on my purpose and God. God first, and then my purpose that He placed upon my life to put me in the position that I will prosper. That's what I'm trying to do in my life. I'm not trying to be worried about what everybody else is doing. I'm not trying to be worried about trying to fit in somewhere, do what society says I should be doing. Like if I wanted to be with someone, I could be with someone, but I don't just want to be with someone just to have someone. Like I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but that's just not my goal. I don't want to be that type of person who's just somebody's driving me crazy and I'm with them just because I want to be with somebody. Or I this person just never wants to see my value and I'm just with them just because I want to be with somebody. Like I want to be with someone because God graced that person for me and I'm graced for them. I want to be with someone because God gave me the yes. I don't want it to be my choice and I'm being with somebody who I should have never been with in the first place because I didn't check with God. I like I know it's hard for people to understand, and some people really are just like, every single person asks me, why are you single? And the real answer is because I'm not going to settle for anything less than God has for me. That's like the real answer. And then of course still have a little bit of the old me inside of me. So I'll be like, why are you single? But no, listen, for real. So, so yeah, I just, I don't want to do that. I don't care if it's a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like, it's tempting sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, hmm. And then sometimes I'm like, mm, mm, mm. Like, how back in the day, like you'd have like the grandmas or the great grandmas or whatever else, or the aunties in the house, and they would be like, you say something or you do something, and they'd be like, oh, about such and such as kids. And they give you that face. Like, that's what I think of when I think of settling for something that God doesn't have for me. When I think about trying to go back to before I rededicated my life to God, when I think about trying to make the wrong decision because it might seem easier than just constantly being so disciplined and so obedient, like sometimes it gets hard because it just feels like, okay, I'm doing all of this and, you know, yes, I'm blessed, but sometimes it really does feel like you're missing something. Like not missing anything, like God doesn't give you everything that you need, but sometimes it feels like I'm doing all of this, but then, when you think of the world and you think of society and other people, it's like they do whatever they want and they're fine. But that's not the things that I can do because I'm in church, because, I'm dedicating my life to God, because I'm focused on God. And when you give your life to God, when you try to do those things that you used to do, it doesn't sit right in your spirit. Like, I don't know if everybody feels that way that's religious or whatever, or that is, Christian or whatever your faith is. But for me, like when I listen to older songs, some of the songs is like, oh, okay, it's a good song, but it doesn't feed my soul like a gospel song. Or like when I'm spending time with God, it doesn't really feed me or like fill me up like that does, like my faith does. And like like if I meet someone and they're just not equally yoked and they are like God-ish, it's just like, listen, God is my everything. I don't think people understand that. It's just like, how could you? He literally sent his only begotten son to die on the cross for us. He's given me everything that I needed in my life. When I thought that there was no way that I could make it by myself, God made a way out of no way. When I felt like giving up, I really shouldn't be here, God was there for me. Whenever I have a moment of weakness and I need somebody to call on, I can call on God and he's there right then. Any moment of the day, any second, it could be day, night, it could be any hour, and God is always there for me. And when I see people or meet people who are God, it's just like, I can't imagine going back to living like that. I can't imagine not putting my whole faith in God. I can't imagine not seeking his face. I can't imagine living in a life where I feel confused without any direction ever again. Like, I can't imagine going back to feeling like my life is purposeless. I can't imagine just trying to be like everybody else because I felt like me being different wasn't good enough. I can't imagine being in a position where I feel insecure because God is my security. Like, I can't imagine a life like that. And so some people will be like, "Oh, you just are so hard on people and you just, ready to just not, give people a real chance." It's not that I'm not giving people a real chance. I know what I want, you know, and what I would want or what I would need is whatever God has given me, whatever he's gracing me. Someone that's equally yoked, because listen, if you don't have God in your life, I don't know how you are surviving. I really don't, because I can't imagine my life without God. Like, that's a huge that is not just like oh, okay. It's not like, no. I don't know. That's not gonna work. That is not like a joke to me at all. I'm serious about this God life. Like, uh, oh my goodness. And so I took some notes earlier. I'm going to say this because I got about 5 minutes before I have to leave and I got to go put on this thing for my class. So I am going to read this, do my in conclusion, and then it's going to be over. Okay. So when I was spending time with God and God was telling me, stop concerning myself or stop worrying about things that I can't control, stop trying to do so much to get the things that he's already promised me in my life. Like, why am I doing all of that to be with this person who I'm supposed to be with? Why am I doing all of that to be in this position that God has already placed me in? Why am I trying to do so much for certain things in my life when all I need to do is be intentional, serving, obedient, and disciplined? Like, some of us really feel like we got to do the most to get the blessings that God has given us when all we have to do is put forth an effort and be intentional. Seek God's face, be intentional, be disciplined, because, living this God life is about discipline. You can't just have everything you want when you want it. You have to be willing to die a little to yourself, because your life is about, when God is blessing you, you blessing someone else. And so I really have to make sure that I'm intentional about those things and that I'm staying focused on God and that I don't allow myself to be concerned with anything that only God can control. And so I wrote earlier, I said, I can't think about that. I have to think about the mercy and grace that God has shown me, because our ability to breathe is God's mercy and grace. Every time we get another opportunity to open our eyes and be the age that we are is the age that someone else didn't make it to. And what are we doing with our lives? Like, some of us are really taking our life for granted, acting like this day isn't already blessed. Like, this is the day that the Lord has made and I will rejoice and be glad in it. We act like, oh, this is just another day. No, it's another day. Like, this is another day. Like, you had the opportunity to breathe. Your blood is flowing through your veins. You have the opportunity to see, to smell, to taste, to speak, to hear. You can hold your loved one's hands. You could give people a hug. You have your arms. You have the functionability of your limbs. You have your feet. You have all of these things, your hair, no hair, however you're wearing your hair. You literally have people in your life that care about you, that love you. You have God in your life. You have every single thing. God has provided a way out of no way. He has provided everything that you need. And some of us wake up and we're still ungrateful when a lot of people didn't get another opportunity, And so I can't get back that time. If I had an hour to live, this is what I put on my Facebook today too, because when I was sitting there concerning myself with something that only God can control, God was like, what would you do if you only had this hour? And I said, if I had only an hour to live, I definitely wouldn't be spending it worrying about something that I can't control. And God's like, yes, exactly. So why do we spend so much time and effort in something that we will never be able to control? We can only do what we can do and stay focused on God and allow God to do exceedingly and abundantly above all else that we could ever ask, think, or imagine. That's literally all we can do. But sometimes we spend so much time stressing and worrying about things that we can't change, things that only God can change. If we just seek His face, if we spend time with Him, if we let Him know the desires of our heart and it's within line with what it is that He placed on our heart to do, He will do it. But we forget it. We get that spiritual amnesia that I like to talk about. And so, in conclusion, when it comes to worrying, when it comes to, being with someone, not being with someone, being in a position, not being in a position, losing your job, being in a place, not being in a place, having a car, having a whatever person, place, or thing that you feel like you need to stress yourself about, you need to worry about. If you can't, if you only had 1 hour to live, would you be worried about that? Or would you be trying to live your life to the fullest and do all of the things that you always wanted to do? We can't think about that. We can't spend our time thinking about something that only God has control over. So release the stress, release the concern, release everything that's weighing heavy on your heart to God. Give it to God because He wants you to spend that time with Him. He wants you to talk to Him, good, bad, or indifferent. He wants to know that you will call on Him when you need Him. So allow Him to be the God that He is so that He can do exceedingly and abundantly above all else.